Welcome into the Snapped Podcast, my personal audio journal. My name is Tyler Kluber. I'm a personal trainer and podcaster, but it gets a little bit deeper than that. And this show is going to give you an inside look on my thoughts concerning health and fitness, business, mindset, and creating the life that you feel lucky to live. I hope you enjoy the show. Sit back, relax, and let's have a day. That new intro. There's already things I'm like listening to in that new intro that's like, eh. And I know I still need to mess with the audio on it, but actually one of the things I'm going to do is turn myself down so that check. All right. Hopefully you guys can still hear me, but it's not as blaringly loud as it seems after I come out of that intro. So today's going to be different because, well, I guess today isn't necessarily different. Didn't have a topic coming into this. Knew I had to do this yesterday. Then forgot several times because I really didn't have anything exciting to talk about. And so this is one of those days where it's like, oh, it really is the audio journal version. But I'm going to try to make can't talk. It's been one of those days, right? So that is sort of what today is about. I'm going to try and make this still entertaining and useful, short, sweet, to the point, because I have a client call in 19 minutes anyway. What do you do on days when you're just not feeling it? When you're just not feeling it. And this could be anywhere from, something's just off today, I just can't get in a groove, all the way to I'm super depressed, right? This podcast is about health. A large sector of health is mental health, and it's a growing sector. And I think it's mental health actually unlocks what we can do creatively and physically. I think they all play into each other sort of in that way, but I think a lot of people are held back because they don't know how to outlet their mental health issues, or when they get into a funk, or like I said, it might not even be all the way towards depression or something, or anxiety, but it's just something, hey, I woke up and today's just kind of something's not right. And I'm just not feeling as motivated. I'm not feeling as productive. Today is one of those days for me. I think one of the reasons was I just didn't have a lot to do today, which is sort of rare. And so in my brain, I kind of gave myself that out of, okay, once we get the few things that we need to do today done, we'll just hang out. We'll watch YouTube videos. We'll do whatever. And that feels so lazy to me. It makes me feel so unproductive, right? But how do I get out of that? How do I get back to feeling productive? Or how do I flip my day? Maybe I don't even do anything that is productive, but how do I flip my day around to where I feel good about that day? And I think for me, the answer is simply, and this was sort of what we talked about, I don't know, last week. I want to say last week or the week before, whichever one wasn't the 6-week recap, which I think was last week. No, it was 2 weeks ago. So I just lean into and this is I'll preface this by saying this is very privileged. This is a privileged stance because I have the flexibility with what I do for work, how I make money, and where I work, working from home for myself with no real, I don't have a day full of meetings, right? There are some days with meetings, but very seldom are other people relying on me to be in places where something very important is happening. right? I do most of my work is done by myself. No one has any other input on it. That's it. So I can then push things or move things up in my day or my week or my month to where if I need a whole week off, I can very easily make that happen. Right. So taking a day, that's not very hard. And so today was one of those days where it's like, hey, maybe I just don't do anything. And that messes with my deeper, more common self that I bring to the table when I wake up every day, which is like, what can we do today to, advance the brand? How do we build the empire? And I guess where I'm going with this is sometimes I think you need the off days to build the empire, right? For a while, I would say for 2 months or so, before all the, for those that know the Wash Up Walk-Ons, the Wash Up Walk-Ons got crazy about a month ago today. And for the last month, I've kind of been riding that wave and doing a lot for that because of a bump in popularity. And then that just created a whole kind of monster, which is good. Awesome. Great. That grows the brand, builds the empire. But what that did do as well is I kind of had told myself before that in the months of July, August, September, that I was like mandating 30 minutes to an hour of guaranteed what I call leisure time or hobby time, right? In my workday, which I consider to be from the minute my wife leaves to the minute she gets back into the house, right? So usually, she's a teacher, so usually she leaves at like 6:45, 6:30, and gets back at 3:15. There's a yawn, respect. And so those 9 hours or about are time where I realistically in my mind think I should be doing productive work things or stuff that I see as productive towards advancing the brand, building the empire. I don't like that. I've said that 3 times, but that's sort of the idea. It's very grandiose. It's really not that serious, but maybe someday. But in that time, usually the hour to 90 minutes before she gets home, so call it 1:45 or 2 o'clock, that's when I actually end my work and then I have my me time, right? Which I've already sort of had my me time because I work out as part of my work, which is, again, very privileged, but as a trainer, walking the walk is part of your work. Call it workshopping, exercises, workouts, movements, phases, programs, rep ranges, percentages, all that stuff that goes into programming workouts basically happens both through sitting here at the computer, but then also working those out in the gym on myself, right? Not to mention just the body and capability that I have on my own is part of me being a trainer, right? So that's work to me, sort of. Very lucky. So that 90 minutes at the end of the day, again, that is where I usually would schedule in the me time, right? And for me, that gets nerdy, right? I get deep into YouTube rabbit holes. I play video games. The one that I've been most hype on is Minecraft lately, a game that I've been playing since it came out over a decade ago, but I've been really into it lately. Occasionally that's been Fortnite. Occasionally it's been Call of Duty, whatever it may be. Usually it's YouTube or Minecraft/video games. Could be reading, could be just going and laying down, could be going for a walk, could be listening to a podcast, could be workshopping new ideas that aren't quite work yet. They're more hobby-ish, sort of. I call it like my Narnia. Like I'm sort of creating this off in the ether potential direction that I may go down someday with something that will turn into part of the program. You know, it could be a new program, it could be a new challenge, it could be something for the podcast. Recently, it was my co-host and I from the Walk-Ons podcast, Drake. We're sort of brainstorming where do we take the Washed Up Walk-Ons brand and how do we continue to make that bigger. So a lot of it's just sitting around and thinking. It's really weird. Like, how is that part of my job? But with this last month, I have not been able to necessarily get that time every day. And I think I'm starting to realize it. And maybe today's the culmination where it was just finally a day where I do not have these days very often. And this is a good day for most people. But for me, I just noticed like, just don't quite feel productive today. Like it's, and maybe part of the weather, there's a couple other things personally that are going on, but the weather's kind of, it's overcast. I actually hurt my fucking elbow in the middle of the night last night trying to pop it. So there's these multi-factor problem or situation that I'm in. And I realized, I think the one thing, whatever it may be for you, when you find yourself in this off day, don't feel bad about going to what makes you happy, right? And I don't know what it is for you. Maybe it's playing with your kids. Maybe it's cooking a meal for your family or your wife, or going to a movie, or this, that, the other thing. And oftentimes when we get in that funk, the initial reaction is, I shouldn't do those things that make me happy because I'm in a funk and I need to get out of the funk and be more productive, and doing things that are leisurely and selfish, those aren't productive. But we need to flip that. In my experience, you need to flip that. Once I get off this podcast, it's about 1:50 as I speak right now. I'm going to be on a client call. That client call ends my day. It'll be about 2:15. I'm going to play an hour to 2 hours of Minecraft. Is there a challenge that needs to get done for January? Yes. Is there 15 different things that could be done that I could work on a little bit for the Washed Up Walk-Ons? Yes. We have a podcast tonight that we have to do. Should I prep and look at some Wisconsin stuff because that's who the Hawkeyes play? Probably. But I'm going to play an hour to 2 hours of Minecraft. And that's going to help me just be happier, get back in my rhythm, and feel like I have control of the day. And so go and do what makes you feel like you have control, because we are best when we have control. But we all lose it sometimes, right? That's a thought for the day. Don't know what I'm going to title this. Don't know what the really overarching theme is. Again, audio diary from yours truly, Tyler Kluver. Thank you guys for listening. As always, I'll talk to you next week.